Hey, AfterBuzz TV fans, tune in now for Season 3, Episode 6 of How to Get Away with Murder.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AfterBuzz TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
Yes, let the buzz begin. Very special episode. This is Somebody Really Dead? We are missing Omari, unfortunately, but we have a special guest tonight, Milauna Jackson. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you again for being here. Where can the fans follow you? We're all sort of trying to live tweet as we talk.
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at it's Milauna Jackson, and I'm on the IG as just Milauna Jackson.
Nice, very cool.
Yeah.
We've got the rest of the panel here. April, where can they find you?
Hey y'all, you can find me everywhere at April Whisenhant, and as always, we have the live chat up, so let us know what you want to ask Milauna.
Nice. Yeah.
Hey guys, I'm Sterling. You can find me at Sterling Kate.
Awesome. And I'm JB. You guys can find me at Hey John Blake. Let's talk about the episode.
Yes.
Pretty intense. A lot of hookups. A lot of courtroom drama. Let's start with that, though.
Yeah.
I mean, you came out guns blazing for Annalise. What was that like? I mean, obviously, Viola Davis, love her.
Yeah.
Has got to be like a great counterpart to act with.
Absolutely. This was the second time you see us actually interact in the way that my character was introduced. So I was introduced in the courtroom. So it was really exciting when I got the script and I saw that this was a chance for us to kind of go at it again. And obviously, I have a little bit more arsenal, considering the fact that this would be a win in a number of ways. So I really wanted to play with it and have fun. She does what she did and managed to, we pled out and her client was able to get off with the deal. But I try my best to not make it very easy for her. Right. And I think that's one of the things that's really important for the writers is to show that if she's going to win, she's got to earn it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Right.
First of all, I'm super excited that you're here with us this particular week because we never see anyone make Annalise shake in her boots, especially in the courtroom. As much as that one scene where she's doing the cross-examination and you kind of, whatever it's called in legal terms, like anything she said, like object. Yes, that's an easy one. But you object everything she's saying, but you can see that she's nervous and you can see that she's not on the top of her game. And you never even see Annalise do that when she's facing murder. No. You know what I mean? Like it's just so interesting that your character in particular gets under her skin that way. Yeah. And it's not even just professional; it's personal as well.
And she doesn't even know about Nate yet.
Yeah, right?
She's already doing that to her.
Man,
So
if
that's
she
what
did,
Nate
blood.
tells her. It's just like turning the knife a little bit more
Yeah.
because it's like she's already all up on her in the courtroom and now she's taking her man.
Yeah, well, I wanted to address this issue of me taking him. She actually released him. She let him go.
Yes.
So, I mean, in the real world, when a person is single,
Yeah.
and like, what are they supposed to do?
So, yeah.
He literally shows up at my place of work in the garage. He's conveniently there to ask me, a question or assume.
Yeah,
He
you
came to
see
you.
this,
You
yeah.
came to- Yeah, he did come to you. That's true.
When the food comes to the door, do you say, I'm not hungry? No. You say, come on in.
Thank you, come
Thank
again.
you.
And I mean, it's not bad, food delivery that
No.
you got there.
Exactly.
It's the best delivery you can have.
It's real true beefcake,
That's true.
So I appreciated it.
I get so worried, though, or this is my thing with Nate and Renee, detective, or not detective, ADA Atwood.
Yeah.
Is because I just don't want, your character seems like a genuine, like, good person, even though obviously she's gone against Annalise and maybe done some things that aren't that nice to her. It like makes me sad that I feel like Nate is almost like, or it comes off that he's using her right now as just to kind of make her jealous.
It does a little bit.
Well, it's really interesting because unfortunately, we as human beings, we do have the tendency to bring baggage into a situation, and people do get used, as pawns in the game of life, particularly when it comes to love or relationships.
Right. Annalise is king at doing that.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So it's funny that you say that because that could possibly inform us as to some possible future intentions.
Yeah.
Right.
Very
Speaking
true.
of which, I mean, before Nate and obviously this trial, your character and Annalise go way back. Like, they do have a pretty rich history. How far did you guys develop that in terms of what your relationship was before, like the good times and maybe the bad? It seemed like she was sort of a mentor for you, and then it flipped at some point.
Wow, I'm impressed that you added all this backstory. I personally, I mean, we never talked about it, Viola and I, and it's interesting because when we were shooting the scene in the judge's chambers, she had an epiphany about something completely different, and it was more of like a future idea. And what I appreciated in that moment was that we were kind of on the same page, but we had never really discussed. It was like we both kind of came up with something.
Mind synergy.
Yeah, exactly. But to tag on to your response about the history, I just developed my own backstory with her. She's, obviously very affluent in Philadelphia, and in her field, she's doing something that is, it's admirable, in terms of career. We're not talking the personal stuff that I wouldn't know about, her and K5 and what they do. But in terms of from a professional standpoint, she's really, really good. She's proficient. And I use that, obviously, like you said, as someone that I admired. We're in the same industry in both aspects, professionally and in terms of the world of How to Get Away with Murder. So I kind of applied that to this character. I was like, I would respect her if she was the kind of attorney that, had a little bit more stronger moral fiber. You know what I'm saying?
Right, yeah.
So I think that's kind of where the issue lies is, she's great, but she's doing it all she's doing some wrong stuff. She's getting people off that shouldn't be getting off for, heinous crimes, both cases that I tried against her, from the sexual assault / murder from the first guy, and this woman is slashing men's throats in a nightclub. You know what I'm saying? These are sociopaths to some degree. And so I absolutely think that if there was a mentor relationship, even if it was just from my perspective, because you never know who you inspire unless they tell you. And I don't necessarily believe I told her that. I don't know if they're going to create that, in the future episodes, but I don't believe that I shared that information with her. I think it was just something that I had, and then I realized what she was really doing, and then it was like, oh no, now I can't. I don't know if I really respect you so much.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's cool that you guys were able to kind of pick up what each other was putting down in that scene.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you what it was like coming onto this set, first as, kind of slowly, and then now you've been in, how many episodes have you filmed? Or can you say that? Or?
I don't know if I can say that, but I've done more than, originally it was only supposed to be 1, maybe 2 episodes, and it's turned into what we've seen so far that's been aired as 4.
Right.
So, and then obviously just, if you just use deductive reasoning, she's told, she now knows about Nate and I.
Right, yeah.
So there's gotta be,
It's got to be something.
Yeah.
It's gotta be addressed.
Exactly. We're talking about Annalise Keating. It's not,
Absolutely.
she's not gonna go home and get drunk into a stupor and forget about it. You know what I'm
You're
saying?
gonna go away
or
somewhere.
Or it's just not gonna be a storyline that's just gonna be ignored. So it's gotta be addressed to some degree. But to answer your question in terms of my arrival upon set, it was very much, the show already has the kind of reputation. You guys are obviously, covering it, and people love the show. So I was a fan. I'm still a fan. So I was just like, great, let's do this. Let's go in here and, and then you're in the courtroom and you're like, this is really happening.
Right. and not just in the courtroom, but you're going up against.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Viola Davis. And I didn't go to law school. I know nothing about legal jargon.
Well, you see. Well, you just saw me trying to struggle with the word object. So.
Totally. No, I was about to ask you if you had any training or if they had lawyers on set to teach you anything. It seems so. I would hire you now.
No, you don't want to hire me. I would just be reading the script over and over again.
Okay.
But I did. I mean, part of the joy of acting is the research part. I love learning, and I love learning about a world that I'm not privy to, and I knew nothing about law. One of the things that I did was I looked at real trials. You could YouTube everything nowadays.
Yeah, true.
And so, you actually have cross-examinations online. I watched the 30 for 30 about O.J. Simpson, and
it was so good.
what I really liked was the way that I was able to really see Marsha Clark as a person, and she's a prosecutor.
Yeah.
She's a very good prosecutor. I don't know if I can curse.
You can.
Okay. She's a damn good prosecutor.
That's
that's a nice
I was gonna say, that's a
but
good one,
that's just the start. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, exactly.
Test the water.
But I looked at her as a staple for the impetus for this character.
Right.
Someone who is able to stand for something and not allow the machismo and the brilliance of Johnny Cochran to stop her from pursuing what she's great at.
Right.
And I had to kind of apply that to the situation. There's a vortex that Viola has and that Annalise has, and it's intimidating. You know what I'm saying? She's a force to be reckoned with. So I would imagine, looking at the 30 for 30, that Marsha Clark probably, I don't know her personally, but I would imagine that experiencing Johnny Cochran and the Dream Team could be very similar to her, Annalise Keating, and Bonnie and the K5.
That's such a good point.
So it paralleled in so many ways. And what I admired about watching that was she was determined to the end, despite the case, her failing at achieving what she sought out. It still was, she had to do it with class and grace, and so that I kind of pulled from too.
That is such a great point.
Interesting.
It's also one thing that your character does for me on this show is that, after all these seasons, we love Annalise. We want them to get off with these terrible things. As loyal fans, I would feel bad rooting against Annalise. You know what I mean? I don't want them to be found out that all these people are dead because of them. You know what I mean? But when your character came in, it's like I'm rooting for you because you're the good guy doing the right stuff and trying to put her in her place.
Yeah.
And that really messes with me as a fan because I'm like, wait, hold on. Do I go for the good person or do I go for the bad person?
I've
that I
gotten
love?
very used to rooting for the villain in every show that I watch.
But it's interesting that they brought us that character that does that kind of tests our loyalty with Annalise and kind of, you know what I mean? So as a fan and as a viewer, it definitely threw me off.
Well, speaking of that, when you came onto the show, was your character's role really defined in that way? Was it a description there, a good doer, through and through, or does it develop sort of as you film each episode? And I know that the writers sort of make changes and write the episodes as you guys film. So I was just wondering how much of your character you knew at the beginning versus where you ended up.
All I knew in the beginning was I was an ADA.
Wow. All right.
Yeah, there wasn't. I think that was the beautiful thing about being a part of this show is they wanted to see what I was going to come up with. I imagine. I mean, I'm sure they, the script informs you of kind of who this person is, and then you can infuse it with more stuff.
Right.
I have to say though, if Annalise is who she is, I can't be the same as Annalise because I just didn't believe that would be as interesting. So there has to be some kind of a difference. But also, I'm not as experienced as Annalise. So Annalise could have probably been where I am today. And as a result of everything she's experienced, now she's this woman. So it doesn't mean that I'm far from who she is. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And if
Right,
I'm
become Annalise.
it's very pop because in order for you to like this woman, she's got to be good. She has to be good natured and good hearted.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I can't believe that she is just a monster who's experiencing all of this bad luck, but she's just great at her job.
Right.
You know, why would you root for that? So and the beautiful thing about the show is they do flashbacks, so you kind of see who she was and, you know, and the trials that she went through, and it literally impacts our life in a way where we can all be, you know, you just don't know who you would become as a result of a horrible situation.
Right.
You know, and she's experienced a lot of stuff
Yeah.
in her life.
And as good as
that's-
the person as your character seems, like right now where we are, you
Yeah.
can still see that little bit of spunk in her eye, like that scene where, I think, was it last week or 2 weeks ago, whenever Annalise came into your office and you were like, sassing her, and then when you're talking to Nate and you're like, why didn't I think of that, or whatever, it's like you can see that little bit of competitive spunk there.
It's like the antithesis of what Annalise is right now, in meaning like you are the person that you want to win, but you're not willing to do the like crazy bad stuff necessarily that she's doing right now, but then you also like hold your own against her. So I think in terms of, you know, learning from her, even though y'all are just like completely up against each other right now, I feel like they could develop it even farther into a character where we keep you for a longer time.
Yeah.
Because we want someone that is kind of just as
That
powerful as
challenges
her, and that's different. I mean, Annalise, we think she, obviously, you know, she's a defense attorney, so it's her job to get these like murderers and horrible people off. But so I like thinking that like we could have someone that could really challenge her in the long run.
Yeah, but also that character challenges her not just like professionally and personally, but it's also like threatens her career, because if she gets her license taken away, then this whole show is over.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like, what cases are we solving and what are we doing? And also, she's not a lawyer anymore, so
Well,
she's gonna be in jail.
Yeah,
It's
she's
like
on-
this whole
she's
thing is
on
crumbling
very
in my
thin
mind.
ice.
It's cracking at the side.
Yeah,
really
it
By every
definitely-
episode, there's another like crack that happens.
Totally. No, it's good to see, you know, positive opposition for her. That's not just someone that they have to kill or something. Like,
Yeah.
It's,
But you also haven't seen. I think that there. I mean, there is a moment. Clearly, I know that Nate was in a relationship with Annalise.
Right.
So it's not like he was just this fine man that, you know, we were all like fawning over, and we just never approached him. It was like, no, they're in a relationship.
yeah, they were dating
Yeah.
for sure.
And
like, he was
now
living
he's
in her
not,
house.
and I
And
conveniently
now
Right.
you got it.
made out with this, you know,
happened to
and
be
then,
there.
and we're having conversations about this woman while I'm in his bed. The last episode, that's
Yeah.
what. So, you know, I think that perhaps I'm not saying I'm not good.
Yeah.
But you know,
got that something.
I think that
no one's
my intention,
perfect.
yeah, exactly. The intentions will be revealed probably a little bit more, particularly mine.
Yeah.
And we all have a breaking point.
Right.
Right.
Well, I
For
don't know
sure.
if you've watched our after show, but I don't trust Nate
No.
when it comes to Annalise. So, I mean, I love him as a person, just not for Annalise.
Well, we
I
love
think
his
he's up
body.
Yeah, we love his body, but we think he's up to something
Yeah.
when it
A
comes
lot,
to
of,
Annalise.
a lot of people were saying that in the beginning of the chat. They're like, "Oh, tell us about the scenes
Yeah,
with
tell us
him."
about the scenes in the bed.
So we're very interested in that.
Yeah, does Nate work out?
I mean, not at all. It's all natural.
Yeah.
You
Tell
know,
him to hit a gym once in a while. would
Yeah,
you?
exactly. He lifts with his co-stars. That's what he does. You know, it's funny because so one day on set we're eating pizza, and I'm totally like, you know, you just happen to see everyone's like having pizza, and it's like, oh, what you get on your pizza? Oh, you got vegetables. I got vegetables too. And so you see Billy Brown, who plays Nate, and he's got like pizza, and it didn't look like healthy pizza. It looked like real pizza.
Yeah.
It made me feel good because I was like, oh, so if people really knew that you
Yeah.
probably eat real food and then just go to the gym. So afterwards, he's eating an apple, and I was like, that's an interesting, right? That's an interesting, what is it called? Chaser.
Yeah.
That's an interesting, so you eat the pizza, and then the apple contributes to the fiber to help break down the fat. There's got to be a system, right?
Oh, so that whole thing works out. I've been doing this all wrong, apparently.
So clearly that's the trick. You eat 2 apples after.
Okay, so the
pizza.
pizza's fine.
The pizza's fine.
Thank God.
As long as you
Chase it with the
it cancels it
proper
out.
amount of fiber, right? Exactly.
Wow, I just learned a
So
lot.
simple.
Me too.
Like
That's
all of these
hilarious.
people are trying this. I didn't say he said that. I said this is
Nate
my
tried.
theory about his diet.
It makes sense.
Because those muscles are real. Like it's very.
It's not makeup, people.
There's
I
no
always
shading and contouring on his body.
You can
at
just
all.
like grab his abs. Like I literally stare at him.
say that
I say
loud,
it every
please.
time because I'm like, you just look at it and I just want to be like, I don't know. There's some,
Calm down, April.
Yeah.
Simmer down.
I get a little excited.
Don't let April anywhere near the set this night.
No, I get it all the time. I completely. It's listen. We did the scene, our very first scene, my very first love scene ever in my career, and I thought I was intimidated about the Annalise Keating trial scene until I read the script and I saw that we were going to be making out, and I was like, oh shit, like, people are going to be like. I'm not like in shape like Nate.
Hey, let's not give him all the credit. He's
Yeah.
pretty lucky too. Okay, to have you. As
No,
a scene
I mean,
partner.
come on now. I'm not saying, I'm not saying that he wasn't pleased and happy to be participating. It was mutual, is what
Yeah.
I'm saying. But still, I have a sex scene with the man whose body people really, really, really admire.
Yeah.
So that can be a little bit like, I had to take a few breaths.
Reel it in.
Well, and with people like right here in your
And then
face
that's another
as
thing,
you're
yeah.
doing whatever.
Yeah,
That's a little nerve-wracking.
As you're making out on camera.
So do you feel
Yeah,
like
with a
now
bunch
you,
of people
with
in
a
the same
bunch
room
of-
watching.
yeah, the crew.
now that you got your first like intimate scene over with, do you feel like the next one you'll be more comfortable, or do you think it's just something that's always kind of awkward?
Yeah, I think. I mean, I don't know. I've been lucky. Most of the men that I make out with on television have been very. It's been quite easy. They're eye candy. They're
Probably
attractive.
someone you want to kiss anyway. Got it.
So I don't know what my next love scene may be. Like,
yeah, true. That's fair.
But I now that you do get something like that out of the way, you feel like, okay, I can do this again until you really maybe get presented with the idea, and it's like, oh, so now you want to do it? You want us to do it on a car?
Okay.
Or like up against the wall, like it's outside, like now it's kind of like it's all about the environment.
It's pretty much always going to be something new in
Yeah.
general when it comes to that sort of stuff. But-
Yeah. Particularly on this show, you just don't know.
Yeah,
That's true.
Yeah, there's always a twist, and I love that about the characters. Is I think we were talking about this earlier. They can start in one place and end up somewhere completely different. Like there's so many changes that we've seen over time, like where they've started with. Asher sticks out to me in a big way, like how
Yes.
far he's come.
Yeah.
You never know what they will or won't do until they're backed up into a corner. And then
Absolutely.
they can
I
do it.
loved Asher in tonight's episode. I'm happy
do
that he
too.
finally stood up to
Yes.
Michaela and
Yeah.
was like, this is what I really want, or give it to me, or I'm out. Not that I think he actually would have left, but I also like that we still get to see his goofy side, but he can be serious when he needs to be.
Right.
I think that was that was a beautiful thing about that scene. I love their scene tonight because it is reflective of it being okay. Like women do, like at least the women that I know and myself, we respond really well when men communicate exactly how they feel.
Yes.
Like, and I think that's the fear that Michaela was experiencing, or some women may be experiencing, is I just want to make sure I'm not in this by myself.
Right.
Because we've been there. You've seen her in other relationships where she was kind of by herself and
Yeah.
thinking that this relationship was headed in a direction, and it wasn't. So we have these defense mechanisms
Totally.
that we put up. Men, I'm sure, do the same thing, but primarily women, at least her on this show, she was doing that. That's what I saw, and that's how I interpreted it. And I thought he was I love that he was showing that sometimes we men need to say exactly how they feel about a woman, and then
Right.
now it's put out there.
Yeah.
So either she was going to embrace it and accept it, or say, this is too much for me, I'm out.
Yeah.
And then he would have to accept that.
Yeah.
It immediately makes their relationship kind of like the realest of all of them, because the moment where he said, like, you're my family, she's kind of like, what, family?
Yeah.
It makes it like, I feel like no one's had as deep of a connection as the two of them seem to have so far right now. So
Which is,
it's kind of,
interesting, because when it first happened, I was like, what is going on with this? Like, how does that even work? But now, I mean, after all that, they've really made it work, where I agree with you. I think they're honestly the best fit couple in the entire show.
yeah.
Yeah, it was very endearing.
Yeah. And just to see him, like, because, you know, as someone that does put up guards or walls or whatever, it's like to see him, like, no matter how many guards she puts up, he's, like, going to be right there, like, trying to break them down, essentially.
Yeah.
And then when she finally says that she does like him or whatever, you can tell that that was a huge deal for her. And the fact that he made all that effort to get there to that honest place, I thought that was really beautiful.
Yeah.
Me too. And you want someone that's going to fight for you.
Right, exactly.
Absolutely. Fight for that woman.
Exactly. He's fighting for her, but it seems like Connor is still trying to fight for Oliver too, even though it just seems, I don't know, it's just a mess and a half. People are like, Oliver, no. I don't know. But I was actually happy that Oliver like went on a date and did something good for himself. And Michaela's there to help him out. She's like setting it all up. But even though he's so nervous about this conversation that he has to eventually have, I was
Right.
happy that he just kind of gave in since he's been so nervous. But it just seems like it's obviously tearing Connor apart because he is still so into Oliver. And I don't know, I still think like the breakup was weird. Now I understand it a little more because they just kind of need to find themselves. And I also think that Connor may be out. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's a weird thing because I feel like you can tell that they still care about one another, but I just feel bad for Connor because you can see that he's like truly hurting over
Totally.
all of this stuff.
However much we want Connor and Oliver to be together as fans, clearly Oliver doesn't want to be with Connor.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like that, he just doesn't. He's going on dates. You know what I mean? It's sad as fans to watch because we obviously want them to be together and want them to be happy.
Right.
Yeah.
But then that would be too easy as a storyline. Let's just be
Yeah.
honest. But you know what I mean? Like obviously Oliver didn't find their relationship healthy, which it wasn't because they were lying to each other and all this stuff.
True.
And, you know, maybe kind of seeing what else is out there might bring them back together or not, whatever. But I guess Oliver's doing this like at his own speed. And that's really all you can like.
I mean, it's
ask him
really
to
making
do.
Connor unravel in his own way. I mean,
Right.
he threatened to kill Wes. Like, whoa.
Right.
He really
What?
did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
He was like,
That was
I
good.
will
Have
kill
we
you.
seen
Yeah,
that?
that is
Have we
super
seen that
aggressive.
side of him
No.
before?
Kind of.
When?
A flash whenever, or I got the vibe from him whenever they were last season at the house, and he was yelling at Annalise and other people about how they just
Right.
had to do the right thing and how he wasn't going to take no for an answer and he wasn't going to be blamed on something else. That obviously not like he wasn't threatening to kill someone, but he definitely seemed like, I'm hard and fast about this. No matter what you do, it's going to be my way or the highway. So
Right.
Is
I get that sense
definitely
of-
a stubborn character.
right.
For sure.
I get the sense then of how he was like, you know, no matter what you say, it's gonna be this way. And it's like he doesn't leave people options. So like with Wes, he's like, I'm not leaving you an option. If you say my name, I will kill you.
Right.
But I'm like, if he says your name, you're gonna be in jail. So how are you gonna kill him? But I mean, it's like a breakdown in the Keating Five, which it's not like they've always been hunky dory with one
Right.
another. So
Right.
it's not that surprising. But it's a definite like, you know, don't cross me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And obviously the Tinder dude isn't going anywhere because he wants to see Oliver again.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
we don't know. I mean, if Oliver tells him like that might break it off. So I don't know how much
He
of a
has the
reoccurring
control.
character he is.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was interesting that I get even we've been talking a lot about like character changes. Oliver started off sort of as such a innocent guy,
Yeah.
dated Connor, and now is like about to have bring this guy in like on the first date. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a very Connor thing to do.
very
Is it?
Yeah.
but
Classic
yeah,
Connor
I mean,
move.
yeah, there was a lot of
Classic Connor.
Classic Connor. A lot of hookups this episode. Wes and Laurel
Oh gosh.
hook up again. I mean, for
Lots of mixed
like,
feelings on this front.
I'm officially loving Wes and Laurel. I've not liked it at all the entire season, and something about it tonight, maybe because I
Because
really
we
don't
know he's
want...
gonna be the baby daddy.
Well, no, but I still think that they hooked up over this. There's something that he and Laurel are definitely not saying out loud, in the sense of it seems like more than just the one kiss happened before, because Wes felt so guilty. And
Right.
He just,
I'm hoping
obviously he
that's
has real feelings for her.
Yeah, I'm hoping that's the case, that something happened over the summer that we haven't seen yet, and not just the fact that I just don't see chemistry between them unless they're making out.
Really?
Did you
know what
not
I
see
mean?
it tonight? I felt like
When
I
they
did.
were making out, I did, but when they're when they're
that.
talking, I don't see it. Like,
Yeah.
I still don't. I think that's just my interpretation, but
Yeah.
unless they're literally on top of each other, I just don't see it.
Ooh, yeah. Question about that.
That's interesting.
Did you guys know that was gonna happen before? For this episode, that they were going to make out? Do you get all of
Well, at a
the
table
script?
read.
No, well, we don't get a whole lot of time in between receiving the script and shooting it.
Interesting.
So-
how average? How much time?
Well, I'm recurring, so I'm quite different than the cast.
Right.
I will say from my experience, I would say maybe less than a week.
Yeah.
But because the table reading, let's just say, as an example, if the table reading is on a Tuesday, we may not work until shoot that episode until after the one we're currently working on wraps. And so there's no break.
Right.
So, it's like the production can start maybe that Monday.
Oh wow.
So you just never know. And it's just that if it happens to fall on Tuesday, you know what I'm saying? So it just depends on the work schedule. But I have had conversations with cast, because I was thinking, I'm a guest. When you're a recurring character and you're a guest, sometimes you might not find out necessarily what's going on in the house.
Yeah.
And they were like, none of us know anything, and I was like, okay, great. I feel like family.
Yes, we're
I
all
feel
on the
like
same page.
family.
All right.
I get the script, so that's a great thing, because they are very, it's really about being confidential, keeping the storyline confidential, and confidentiality is something that we all respect, because it's just enjoyable. Listen, my mom, her friends and people want to know questions, and I'm really like, you really don't want to know. When you see it aired, trust me, it's going to be so much better. It's like
how it's intended to be watched.
Yeah, exactly. It's like a magic trick. You don't really know how they do it.
Right.
The whole joy is
it's all about the
experiencing it.
journey.
Yeah.
That's one thing I love about this podcast in particular, is because we say all these things that we think are going to happen. We have no idea.
Majority of the time, we're very wrong.
And a lot
Maybe
of times,
1%.
and commenters, and we love talking to all the commenters and everything, and they're like, I can't believe you thought this, or whatever. I was like, well, honestly, none of us know.
Right.
So
I've changed my theory of what happens every episode. I'm like, what?
every
Nope.
episode, I think someone else is under the sheet, so I'm not credible.
They're asking right now, a lot of people in chat, do we think it's Frank or Wes's baby? And also, I'm loving all of the Wes and Laurel. Bex G says Warl, and she's up
Warl.
for Warl.
Ooh.
I like that. And I just
better
missed
than
the
less.
other
It is
name.
better than less.
But yeah. So do you think, as a viewer, would you think the baby, because we know Laurel's pregnant, obviously, is Frank's or Wes's?
Wes.
I think Wes,
I
for
do too.
sure.
That
You would
makes
think
sense.
Wes.
Yeah. I mean, they did make
She's
out.
like physically,
Oh, yeah.
biologically.
They did.
They did make out.
I saw that.
They seem very comfortable. Even
exactly.
Sterling said, they seem very comfortable when they're making out.
Yeah.
So there's some familiarity with their bodies.
Yeah.
So
Well, no, I was
They've
going to say
definitely
that.
gotten around each other's bodies before.
Well, time-wise, I think it works out with the 3, because we're 3 weeks out from
I
the
heard this
fire,
theory
right?
before. You guys
Yeah.
broke it down
Yeah.
to the date.
But now we also see Frank
Yeah,
making
Frank's
his way
driving.
back to
Yeah,
Philly.
he's
so
driving
it's
back.
like
He could be back the
he
next
could
day.
be the next day, and then Laurel is just like
So we could have to have an episode of Maury.
It could be a paternity test situation.
So you think that she just made out with Wes? The next episode, he comes back, she's gonna make out with.
I am not into slut shaming by any means.
No,
but that's what she wants to do.
I don't think she is.
No, I didn't say it. I'm saying she wants to hook up with two guys in 2 days. That is fine.
That is absolutely.
That is her choice.
I think that whenever she told, whenever she seemed genuine whenever she was looking at Wes and saying, I don't love Frank. And I honestly think this whole time that she's just been trying to protect him and that she's been trying to get him back because she knows that he did a lot of these things for specific reasons, you know, like to get back in Annalise's good graces, which, I mean, obviously he took it way too far. I mean, he freaking killed someone, but that's the other thing. I also don't think it was him that was the anonymous tip at first, like that led the NYPD to come to Wes. I actually think it was Bonnie to get, in order to get Frank to come back, because she needed to get his attention. She needed to do something in order, because he was, I mean, he disappeared.
How would Frank know that they were coming after Wes? Oh,
Well, he, like,
Laurel?
yeah.
Because Laurel left him that voicemail.
Yeah. Saying, like, I can't believe you would, I can't
That's
believe
an
you would
interesting
do
thing.
this. I can't believe, like, are you really that person? And he doesn't want anyone to think that he's
makes
actually
sense.
that person.
Yeah, that's a super
I'm gonna
like
co-sign
puppet
that
master
prediction.
move. I like
Yeah.
that. I mean,
Well, Bonnie would do that.
Yeah,
yeah, that
and
is
Bonnie,
Bonnie.
I think, has like,
Could've
the
been
skill
Annalise,
to
too. She's done that
foresee
stuff
that
before.
happening.
Yeah.
Ooh, I like that a lot, actually.
I don't know. But I like that this is a good way, or I like this way of reintroducing Frank back to Philly and getting him back
Right.
with the group. And I'm happy that Annalise knows now that he killed Mahoney. Well, I'm happy we all know, because it was just one of those
Well,
things,
we
like, are they really
knew.
not going to address it? Like,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
yes, we definitely knew, but I'm glad
Yeah,
that...
it's nice to have the confirmation, because it doesn't happen that often. Like, we're left sort
Yeah.
of...
Right.
Rarely is someone just like, yeah, I
Right.
killed it. It's always like a lie upon built on another
Yeah.
lie. But
We all
I don't know.
assumed, but it's
That
nice.
also
that-
could have been, hearing that for Laurel could have been another, like, breaking point for her with Frank.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, hearing him say that he killed another person or whatever, I feel like
Right.
that could be a potential.
literally, like, just
off.
to kill him.
Yeah, murder
pretty
is definitely a
messed
turn
up.
off
Yeah.
to me.
Oh, so you just shot him.
That's
shot
on
him
the
for
notice.
fun.
She
Okay.
seems to be pretty into it, though. Frank and West, the biggest killers on
I
the
know,
show,
right?
pretty much.
This is true.
Yeah.
She's got a type. Huh?
She does have a
She
type.
has a type.
Shooting people,
People
is
say-
a deal
And either
breaker.
one could be the
Got it.
baby, the baby of her, father of her baby.
Father of
Yeah.
her baby.
Yeah, English is hard.
Yes, it is.
But yeah, I love that theory of Bonnie sort of knowing that Laurel is going to be a leak of that info, because we've seen that time and time again. I mean, she had a great... Bonnie's just been kicking ass.
She
this
has.
episode. She saved the day sort of with this army case, setting that up. It was weird to see Annalise like use the actual law to get
Yeah,
off.
To get off. Which
I think
shows
that's the
how-
first time this happened.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I apologize.
Oh, no.
No, I was gonna say, which shows that you can't actually use the law, you know,
Yes.
to
Yeah.
work
Exactly.
in your favor.
You don't have to murder people as your only option. Yeah.
But you know, it's the team. Like, that's the thing about Bonnie. The last couple of episodes, you see that Annalise, you know, no one is successful. No man stands upon a mountain alone. You know,
Right.
there's a whole system that works to help this person get to where they are. And I think that's what I enjoyed about them showing Bonnie. You know, taking over for Annalise
Yeah.
the last episode, and then doing what she needed to this episode to
Right.
show that they contribute a lot.
Yeah.
You know,
I want to know what you guys think about, so like everything that we know now, because last episode when Bonnie went to Frank and they were intimate and, you know, had that whole thing, but then we find out this episode that she was actually recording stuff and working for Annalise, but she was also kind of like having her own personal reasons for being there. Just like knowing everything that we know now, do you think that she's like, what is her deal with Frank? I still don't know if
Bonnie's
she's like,
deal?
Yeah.
because she's like, I did this for you, whatever, but like, she didn't need to sleep with Frank for Annalise.
True. Well,
You know
no,
what I mean? Like,
I,
I didn't still trying to like
I think she did it,
Interesting.
honestly.
make up my mind about what her intentions are exactly.
I think she recorded him because she probably was talking to him in that situation with the intentions of like, okay, let's get some answers about Mahoney. But I think I think had he stayed there, I don't think she would have ended up using it. I
Right.
think she was probably like, okay, well, he left, but let
now
me
I
get
have
him
to-
to
Right.
come back and use whatever
Yeah.
I can.
I feel
was
like
gonna say,
yeah.
do you think if he had if he was there when she woke up in the morning after they had their night together, do you think that she would have gone back to Annalise?
Probably not right away. I mean, I feel like
Yeah.
all these characters are just always on guard for each other. I
Yeah.
mean, they live in this world of murdering and covering it up like over and over again. That's like their forte.
Yeah.
So
But why do you think he left? He had
Yeah.
a job. They revealed it this episode.
I mean,
right?
yeah, the Bonnie Frank relationship I don't think is ever going to be long term. They've known each other for so long, so it was, I think, just a one night thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, now he's coming
but
back.
he
to
is
Well,
play.
coming
that's
back.
not what I'm asking.
Oh, sorry. What
so,
your question?
so I was saying, why do you think he left?
Oh, and left her alone.
Like he was.
He's a lone wolf.
So you think he just left to get something to eat, or he left to?
Oh
have
no,
a-
I think he took off to just make it clear that because he was saying a lot of romantic stuff, like they would run away together and have a family and a white picket fence and like escape to Washington, I think it was. I think he just wanted to make that clear that he's not that guy. Like he won't.
But he went
See,
to,
I didn't
but
get
he-
that.
Really?
I got the no, because they revealed this. They showed this episode what he did, what he
They
was
went
doing.
to set up the other
He
son.
had to. Her whole, to me, the thing, the most poignant thing she said was he wants to come home.
Yeah.
He does. He
And
does.
and so for him, it's not like Bonnie's gonna be there. Like they established something, and I believe. I'm a romantic though.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, and that's very hard to say on the show like this.
Yeah.
True.
But he left. They had a moment. He left because his overall mission is still to come home. So
Yeah.
he
Right.
had to. He took care of her father. He
Right.
took care of her father.
True.
Right.
You
True.
know, and he also had to take care of the family.
Right.
And I felt like that. I don't know. I could be wrong. Again, I didn't. You know, I'm
No,
not.
I
No,
like
I
that.
wonder
What you're
if-
saying makes complete sense.
I wonder if he had this plan in motion of taking down Wallace's other son, the guy from Heart of
Mahoney,
Dixie, who
yeah.
I love.
Uh-huh.
If he had that plan all along before he knew that the cops were going to come after Wes.
I kind of think he did, or maybe after talking to Bonnie, he did at least, because he knows how much Annalise cares for Wes, even though I think Annalise definitely cares for Frank, obviously, probably just as much, but I think he knew, holy crap, I have to figure out a way, because she's
get
so
back.
pissed
Yeah.
that
Yeah. He's always got.
that
a
Wes could
contingency
be brought
plan.
into this. He's like, let me leave and let me do something that will just take the attention completely off of it.
Yeah.
And I did this thing. I killed Mahoney for, so that no one would come after me, but also probably for Annalise as well. But I think once Bonnie was like, just go apologize, do something, like we can tell you want to go home. And she said the thing about like, why would you do that to Wes? That's when he knew like, okay, I probably can't go home until I just completely cover that whole mess up.
Yeah.
And he does.
Yeah, I mean, definitely does fix things. I still feel like he could have said that to Bonnie.
Yeah.
Like, hey, actually, I'm going
let
to
me-
fix this.
Yeah,
You
just
go
go take care of
back.
this.
I've got a plan. I'm going to frame this guy real quick.
That makes sense.
Men can
Don't worry
always
about
say
it.
things without leaving.
Hey,
Yeah.
remember
You know?
that asshole son? They don't.
Exactly.
Because they were really, like, I mean, Wes was really close to possibly turning himself in. I mean, he
Right.
destroyed the evidence. He said he was going to talk to the cops. So things could have gone awry had Frank not done that right away.
Yeah.
I mean, he definitely pulled it off, though. I don't even know when he got those fingerprints to put on the gun. But
He's always got
he's
something
very,
up his
very
sleeve.
sneaky. So
I'm not surprised.
crazy episode, though.
Yeah,
We,
yeah, that's
unfortunately,
just like-
we have
we
to
could
wrap
talk
it
about
up.
this for hours.
I definitely can. We
Yeah.
totally always do. Thank you so much for joining
Yes,
us.
thank you. It was
Please
so much
come
fun.
again. Where can the fans keep up with you, watch you again?
Again, you can follow me on Twitter at it's Milauna Jackson. I'm on IG at Milauna Jackson. I'm always actively working on the next gig. So, I'm sure as soon as I can divulge any information about my next project, I always post it. So if you
Awesome.
follow me,
Yay.
you'll be able to see it.
Awesome.
Very
That's
cool.
awesome.
And y'all can find me everywhere at April Whisenhant. Thanks so much for talking in chat tonight. I hate that I didn't get to shout out more comments, but we definitely will next week.
That's right. You guys can find me at Sterling Cates.
Nice. And you guys can find me at Hey John Blake. Tune in next week.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Later.
Bye.
From From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.